Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 12 of Rounding Third. My name is Jeremy Lapidus, your co host of the episode, joined as always by my friend and co host.
Hayden Raymer.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Before we really get into the episode, some housekeeping. I would like to thank Ryan Mays, our friend, for making a beautiful new logo for us, which you can see on the thumbnail and soon on the YouTube once I finish this episode and get it on there. It's on the Twitter already, but I'd like to thank him for designing those logos for us. They're very good and they're better than the logo that I drew. So thank you. Uh, we have a great show. First of all, what's going on with the Cardinals? We're gonna get into that. Haden, harkening back to Hayden's famous Triple Threat Show segment, Hayden's Question of the Week, has a wonderful question for us. And last but not least, uh, Gary Sanchez has a new home. Uh, we'll get into all that and a little more as we get into the show. But before we get into it, how you feeling, Hayden? How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's finals week, so we're like grinding, getting through life. Uh, but it's a lot of fun.
He has
Very
a wonderful
excited.
question for us. And last but not
Sorry, I was trying to
least,
pull up the YouTube. I wanted to see this beautiful
Gary
logo.
Sanchez has a new home. And a little more. I don't actually know if it went. It was supposed to. Like I told it to, but I don't know if it actually did. Hayden, how you doing?
Sorry, 1 second. I'm so confused. I can hear it. Oh, it's playing on Twitter. That I'm so sorry to everybody. That's really
I
annoying.
can't.
No, it was
I
playing
can't hear
through
it.
Twitter into my headphones. I was like, why can't I hear it? I was freaking out. We're good though. I fixed it, cleaned up I'm happy. How are you, Jeremy?
I'm doing great. Finals are almost over. This is going to be the last show for a month or so. I'm not going to be available for shows, but uh, we'll be back in full steam in June. So we're
I'll
gonna
get
make this
Shane
the
for it.
yeah. Shane will fill in rounding third. But no, I'm excited. We're gonna make this a really good last show
Yeah.
before hiatus. Yeah. Where do you obviously the big story. I'm not going to ask you where you want to start because I want to start somewhere today. The big story this week and uh in a lot of things it has been the Wilson Contreras saga in St. Louis. Do you want to give us a little deep dive into that, Hayden, and then we'll go into a discussion?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, Wilson Contreras or the Cardinals, uh, are the worst team in the National League. They're 12 and 24 heading into tonight. They play against the Cubs, who have Jameson Tyone on the mound tonight, and then Justin Steele on the bump tomorrow. It doesn't look pretty. These are gonna be two tough games to win. Uh, and with this slow start, they're trying to identify what's going wrong. And there was a report that came out over the weekend from Katie Wu with the Athletic, and the initial report was, yeah, Wilson Contreras is no longer a catcher for the next couple weeks to a month. He is going to be a outfielder and a DH. And we've seen players get sent down just because they couldn't find playing time in the outfield, and then to see a guy get demoted pretty much and get kicked out of the outfield, uh, just to further create a further logjam that just didn't really make sense. Uh, and yeah, I mean we're talking about the guy who the Cubs went out, or not the Cubs, the Cardinals went out and gave a 5-year, $87 million contract. He was kind of like the guy who they brought in to replace Yachty. Uh, and from all reports, it seems, yeah, they don't want him to replace Yachty anymore. Now he's only DHing now, so that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it's a much better solution than sending him in the outfield. Um, when I first heard that was gonna happen, I thought they were kidding. I thought the announcers were making a joke, but no, they were not joking. Obviously, this whole season has been a mess. Uh, I don't think I saw anybody who thought losing Molina would have this big of an effect on the Cardinals.
Mhm.
Obviously, people knew it would have an effect, but nobody thought it would destroy them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, but when you have a guy behind the plate that is just so good at what he does, it makes that pitching staff, which honestly isn't that different from last year, look so much better than it is this year. Uh, and obviously that's been the root of their problems.
Mhm.
Their lineup hasn't been hitting, but that can be fixed. It's the pitching that has caused a worry. And with the state that the organization is in, with the player manager relationships, and who knows what's going on with Wilson Contreras and whatever the Cardinals' plan is to fix him, it doesn't look like it's going to get fixed anytime soon.
Mhm. No, I mean I think the Cardinals. It's just this is we're talking about an organization, uh, that was kind of the pinnacle of like consistency and doing things the Cardinal way and having like this sort of aura around them where they were always good. Uh, it's just the Cardinals, man. Like there was always this the Cardinals way, very professional. Uh, and then here we are now, and it feels like this entire season has been the total opposite of that. I don't know if you remember, Jeremy. There was that whole kind of scandal with Tyler O'Neill getting benched earlier in the year. Uh, it's just it hasn't been a very clean year for them. I'm blinking on his last name. Uh, sorry, what is it? Mike Schilt. He was the Cardinals manager just a few years ago. Uh, I'm looking to see. I mean, he had a really good year. I believe he had. Let's see. Mike Schilt, 4 seasons, went 252 and 199. Uh, I believe he had like a manager of the year. Yeah, he did have the manager of the year. And then he immediately got fired. They brought in Ollie Marmol, and we were a little confused. But maybe the Cardinals know what they're doing. Uh, and they didn't. They don't know what they're doing. It's just it's a mess. It's just I mean it's frankly just a mess. Uh, when you bring in a guy like Contreras to replace Yadier Molina, you already knew. I mean, you're losing a guy whose entire Hall of Fame candidacy hinges on the fact that we value catcher defense, right? That's his entire Hall of Fame candidacy. Is he was one of the best defensive catchers for 20 years.
Of all
Uh,
time.
yeah, one of the best defensive catchers of all time for 20 years. And then they go from that to Wilson Contreras, who we already know was a poor receiver, and you didn't have a plan in place. Like that just it doesn't make sense. This shouldn't be happening. Uh, the Cardinals, if you do value catcher defense like you do, then Sean Murphy should have been traded for. Austin Hedges should have been signed. Uh, not even if you want to go get like a one of those, I guess, more under the radar guys. Like there's so many like great defensive catchers in baseball right now who were on the free agent market. I'm gonna quick. I don't have any of this stuff prepared, and I'm sorry, but when you talk about you know strong defensive catchers, I'm looking. Christian Vasquez was a free agent last offseason. He's a solid receiver. Tucker Barnhart was a free agent. If you don't trust a guy like Andrew Kanizer, then go out and get one of these more prominent guys. I mean, James McCann's had years where he's been solid defensively. Luke Maley has been a solid defensively throughout his career. You know, he was part of that double-headed monster that as I like to call it, in Cleveland last year. Uh, it's just you should have seen this coming. If you want to build your team around catcher defense and value catcher defense, then don't get one of the worst receivers in the league. It's pretty simple. Uh, and I mean, honestly, like he's not the problem. It's just they're making him a scapegoat. That's what it is, in my opinion. Honestly.
I mean, he might not be the only issue, but I I think the Cardinals were misled by. I think the Cardinals undervalued everything Yachty did. So
Oh, I mean, completely. I think we can agree there, but it's. I understand you can be like, okay, we undervalue what Yachty did, and we like feel that loss when we go get somebody like Sean Murphy, or we go get somebody like Austin Hedges, Luke Maley, Tucker Barnhart, you name it. You know, you feel that loss, but then to go get one of the worst receivers, where now you have less time to kind of negotiate and talk about pitches, where his pitchers clearly don't trust him, because Jeremy, I just this doesn't. It's just a mess. The pitchers don't like throwing to him. They don't trust him. And that's honestly what it is.
right, what I'm trying to get into the heads of the Cardinals management when they made this move, right?
I don't
And
think they realized kind of like
they
what his it's just it's the pitching staff. That's the real issue here.
right, that's the
Like
issue, and Yachty was hiding a lot of that. That's what he was doing. He was hiding a lot of that, which is with his defense. But what they were looking at in the numbers was our pitching is good. We just need a catcher, and you know what? Why not get some offensive upside with him? Uh, is what I assume they were thinking. And obviously, we're a little more than a month in. It's not working. Self in a bind. They gave him a 5-year deal. It's worth 90 million. This isn't a contract that can't turn around. This isn't something that
again,
is
it's not
broken
on
forever.
Contreras. It's not like he's having a bad year. Like I
I'm not
don't. It's just I don't know. It frustrates me, like for them to like just scapegoat Contreras like this.
mhm.
Like we're talking about a guy who, I mean, I can pull up the metrics and quite literally show you. I mean, obviously it's a tiny sample size, so like any sort of like defensive metrics, even if it's like a Statcast one, that has little to none actual like value where we can draw discernible like information from it, but he's not like the worst catcher in the league. And
Right.
like his blocking is below average so far this year. His framing hasn't been bad. I I mean like are we concerned about his throwing and like controlling the running game? What it honestly is they don't trust the pitches that he's calling. Like him and his team, they're not on the same page, the pitching staff. And with this 30-second or the pitch clock where you have 15 seconds to decide on what pitch to throw, you kind of have to trust your catcher, and they just don't. Uh, and it's not working out for them. Now, is that entirely on Wilson? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not. I've never caught a big league game. I've never caught above like kid pitch. Uh, but I don't know, Jeremy. Do you have any other?
I think it's just a mess there. When for years, you mentioned the Cardinal way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they were like the New England Patriots of the MLB. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they had a system. They would always find a way to be good, regardless of what happened. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
had, they had. It didn't matter what players they had. Um, but you see it. There's always the one guy uh, that's like the player that is the culture. You know, it happens. it happened with the Patriots when Tom Brady left. You know, obviously that's a much bigger situation than uh, Yachty, but it's the same idea. And I trust the Cardinals to turn it around, and whether that means you have to get rid of the manager a month into the season, or I don't know, but I think they'll find a way to turn it around. It's still the Cardinals organization, and not much has changed in it.
I just I don't like the past 3 years or so, ever since Mike Schilt got fired, I've had no pulse on what the Cardinals are doing. Like obviously when you talk about like a roster construction standpoint, or not even a roster, like they have a great farm system, but like when you're talking about from a roster construction standpoint, there we go, we're back on track. Uh, it doesn't make sense. This team, I thought they should have done something like the Diamondbacks did. Cause I mean the Cardinals have one, two, three, four, five, six outfielders right now.
Mm.
You have Jordan Walker, Tyler O'Neill, uh, Alec Burleson, not Paul Goldschmidt, Lars Nootbaar, Dylan Carlson. You know, five outfielders, and we still don't have kind of a plan. Like we don't have anything that we're not doing anything with these guys. You know, like go trade these guys, go get starting pitching. You know, go get anything really. You have this massive depth at a position, and you're just not using it. You have all of these young prospects that are just sitting in the minors. Uh, they have a catching prospect, Ivan Herrera, who he's was learning somewhat from Yachty in spring training over all these years that he's been like the heir apparent for him. You know, yeah, he's not as great of a fielder, but he's probably more liked than Wilson Contreras. Uh, you have Matt Liberatore just sitting down in the minors. That guy just twirls it all day. You have all these prospects, but we're not using them and going and acquiring players and getting better. And that's it's a mess. I don't I have so many thoughts that they're bursting out of my head.
Oh well. Um, no, obviously they've made a lot of questionable decisions. Uh, but I don't know, man. Everybody's talking like it's the end of the Cardinals and they have no shot of coming back, and I think that's wrong. I think it's too early to pass
Oh yeah,
judgment
way
on
too
that.
early. I mean, we saw. I mean, 2019, the Nationals. They came back and they just absolutely dominated. Uh,
And I don't know what that move is, but they have to do something. It's not moving Contreras to the outfield, obviously. But what I've heard from a lot of people theorized is that pitchers said, "Hey, I don't want to pitch to this guy," which is why they had to make a move.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
I think the Cardinals organization, players, especially veterans, uh, like Yachty, like Wainwright, have a lot of pull in that organization. Like a lot of pull, which I mean, rightfully so, not rightfully so. Uh, and I think like a lot of these decisions have been kind of led by them, if that makes sense. Like I don't think the players want to play for Mike Schilt anymore. I think that's from what I've read and from my understanding, that's kind of what happened. They wanted Ollie to be their manager. And
mm,
now here we are where we have a guy who I mean, I know you're not on Cardinals Twitter a whole lot. I follow a few people who are big Cardinals fans. And the general gist I'm getting is that they want like Ollie to be fired yesterday. Uh, they want the entire front office to burn, which I mean rightfully so. Cardinals fans are used to a certain thing, and now they are the worst team in the National League, and they would be one of the worst teams in the entire league if it wasn't for a historically bad Oakland A's team and the Kansas City Royals. It's just, I don't know. They need to, you know what they need to do? They need to go out and acquire, either trade away these bad players these bad pitchers that they don't want anymore, uh, a la like Steven Matz, because you have to keep Jordan Montgomery. That's the only pitcher on their team that's like good. Miles Mikolas has had some starts here recently, but Jack Flaherty is like what happened to that guy? I don't know if you remember his run in 2019, Jeremy.
I do. It wasn't fun.
Yeah, like he was incredible, and
Yeah.
then since then in his, I mean, it's DeGrom, but if DeGrom wasn't like, DeGrom, he's thrown since the end of 2019. This is including the 2020 year. He has thrown a whopping 189 innings for 1.4 WAR. He has a 4.33 ERA. His fastball velocity has dropped. He's giving up way more homers than he was. Uh, Walking way more, and strikeouts are down. Uh, and it's just they like go get rid of him, go trade him away, go find some rebuilding team, who wants to needs a boost, wants a veteran pitcher like Jack Flaherty. I mean,
Yeah.
he
I
might even
mean,
have options. No, he doesn't have options. Never mind. Ignore me. Trade away Steven Matz, so that's what you need to start with. That guy's been bad.
it's not a small ask to fix that pitching staff. They're like 28th in the league.
Mm-hmm.
That starting pitching is like 28th in the league ranked.
They're
To like,
22nd in ERA right now.
I thought that was just the bullpen, 22nd.
Mm-mm. Bullpen's 14th in the league.
Mm.
I mean, at the end of the day, though, they gotta pitch better. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you're still giving up 28 hits per nine, or you're 28th in hits, uh, allowed, 20th in home runs. They're 28th in the league in WHIP. Like, and I know one of those teams that's below them, and that is the historically bad Oakland A's. Uh, yeah, I don't know. This team just needs to find new starting pitchers.
yeah.
Because Trace Barrera is not going to fix that pitching staff. Like, I'm sorry. I love Trace Barrera. Trace Barrera is one of my favorite catchers in the league. Uh, he's not going to fix that pitching staff.
I I don't know. I think they need to fire the manager and then figure it out from there.
Yeah.
You can't be lambasting your guys in the media that often.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not gonna say it's fine to do it once, but like, if it happens once, it's a slip up. Maybe you're just super mad and you can't control it, but twice in the first month of a season, you can't be doing that.
Yeah. It's not a good look. That's for sure.
Anyway, we'll circle back with the Cardinals later on, but Aiden, I know you have a burning question to propose for this show.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty simple question. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I'm not gonna come out here and ask you like this really difficult question, Jeremy. I'm not meaning you like that. So like my question for you, Jeremy, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is what is like kind of like the so far this season, what has been the best free agent contract that is less than $100 million?
All right. So, I took this question as what has been one of the more underrated contracts
Mm-hmm.
of this year. And the guy that I settled on, pitcher,
Okay.
closer
Oh.
for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Andrew Chafin. He's been, like a really, really solid pitcher for a couple years now. Um, but this is like his first true closer role that he's had in his career,
I think he was
and
closing with the A's, but yes.
he wasn't. He only had 5 saves
He was
in
like
2021.
closing by committee, I guess, yeah.
He's already tied a career high in saves
Okay.
this season, um, which was in Oakland in 2021.
Yeah.
But he pitched in 71 games then, and he's pitched in 16 this season. Um, Giving him a chance to get this to close for practically the first time in his career, to be the full
Uh-huh.
time closer for the first time in his career. He's done a great job. Like I said, he's already tied a career high in saves. Um, I don't. I meant to check where he was on the leaderboard, but obviously this Diamondbacks team has been a huge success at the beginning. Throughout this season, they're a half game back of the Dodgers for first place.
Mhm.
Excuse me. They're 20-15, and you know they're it's really important to have an elite closer to shut down the end of games. Uh, so he's the guy I picked for most underrated contract
Yeah.
of the offseason.
Yeah, I mean Chafin, I mean the Diamondbacks last year were, kind of one of the worst bullpens in the league.
Right.
Uh
They went from Tyler Clippard as their closer to Andrew Chafin, and that's the as much as I love Tyler Clippard, uh, that's a huge improvement.
yeah. Uh I mean when you look at what they did this offseason, they went and brought in Miguel Castro, who, had some nice stretches with those New York teams, the Yankees and the Mets. They went and got uh I'm blanking on who else. They got Cole Sulcer, which was pretty big for them. They went, and the other big guy was Scott McHugh, who, they brought over from Japan. Uh, but no, I mean, adding that a guy like Chafin, who, he's not a true closer, really. I mean, he's having a good year so far. Uh, but I mean, just adding any sort of back end arm like that is just really really important for a up and coming team like the Cardinals. They just go get a closer, bigger closer at the deadline, and boom, you got a pretty scary bullpen all of a sudden.
Absolutely. And I know when you asked me this question a couple days ago, you said you immediately had an answer.
Yeah,
I'm very excited to hear this.
listen. We've talked about the importance of catching and what a truly great defensive catcher can bring to a franchise. And we've just seen the kind of polar opposites happen, right? In the NL Central.
Hmm.
Because our Pittsburgh Pirates brought in Austin Hedges.
That was another guy I was looking at.
They brought him. They signed. Cardinals signed their catcher to a 5-year, $87 million deal. Austin Hedges was brought in once as soon as his page can load. I don't remember his salary. I think it's like $5 million. Yeah, brought him in for $5 million for 1 year. And I mean, the trajectory of these organizations kind of swapped. If you're like, man, there's this team that's, they're beating the Brewers, who are 20 and 15. This team's 21 and 15. I would have said the Cardinals. And then if you said there was a team in the NL Central who's 12 and 24 this early in the season, I would have said the Pirates. Maybe the Reds, but probably, the Pirates or the Reds. And to see that just it's a little like funny, kinda. Is it not? Like seeing these trajectories swap. Uh, yeah, no. Bring in a guy like Austin Hedges. I mean, you're seeing a like breakout. Like last year was like a breakout year for Mitch Keller. Uh, who I don't know how much you know about Mitch Keller. He was like a former top prospect. He's had some solid stretches, some solid years. Last year, it was kind of like a four-starter type guy. Right now this year he's one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. They are now actually. I'm just seeing this. I don't know when. Oh, that was today. Uh, they just called up one of their top pitching prospects to kind of for him to mold. Rich Hill's having a really solid year at 43. And then the two young guys, Johan
I forgot how
Oviedo.
old Rich Hill was.
Yeah, he looks so old compared to the rest of that staff.
Dude, because like the rest of that staff is like in
The
their 20s.
oldest guy is Mitch Keller at 27. And you have 43-year-old Rich Hill. But no, you have Johan Oviedo and Ronzi Contreras, who are like, I don't know if you've watched them pitch, Jeremy, a
I
little
have not.
bit. You have not. They're nasty. And to have trust the guy who's behind the plate there, you kind of see what kind of impact it can have. Even like when you ignore like framing and like that kind of stuff. But like the kind of impact having a guy who you trust behind the plate, who's knows what they're doing and is very good at calling games, it's just incredible. Also, I mean,
Yeah,
look at the
obviously.
Guardians. Look at the Guardians without him. I mean, that's more their offense than their pitching, but that's besides the point.
I mean, like that's been practically the crux of this episode. Uh, Catcher defense, and how much we're seeing that it really matters. Because that is something that's really undervalued in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, sorry, that was my foot. um, excuse me, sorry. The, I mean, for years we've seen like a big battle between having an offensive catcher or a defensive catcher,
Mm-hmm.
and there's always the unicorns that can do both,
Mm-hmm.
but generally they're going to be one or the other. Uh, and there's always been that philosophical battle between whether or not you want a hitting catcher or a guy that can frame. And I think we're seeing this season, especially how important defense is in catchers. Uh, so maybe we're going to start to see a shift further away from those pure hitting catchers, more towards like a true catcher.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think it's actually this year. I don't think this is like a, oh, 2023, there's this new thing out, catch your defense, guys. Everyone, you know, rush to get it. I mean, when you talk about baseball, at the end of the day, when you talk about like player evaluation and how we evaluate players, it's ever evolving and it sort of becomes like an arms race, right? Like, we saw the spin rate arm race just a few years ago. The on base back with Moneyball, that kind of stuff. And we've seen like the way we evaluate players change and the way what we find valuable and how to kind of maximize, kind of min max our efficiencies and just our chances. Uh, where, sure, we can go spend all this money on this big bat. How do we save money and still get value out of position? Catcher defense, and we've seen a lot of teams do that. You saw just a few, I guess, is it 1 year, maybe 2 years ago? The Yankees went in and traded for Jose Trevino, who was like,
That was go for it.
well, no, it was just that was in Texas. They had like this pitching lab where they had like two of the best defensive catchers in baseball. Just all of a sudden they're like, okay, cool, let's just go trade one of these guys away. And all of a sudden, you see Jose Trevino hits just a little bit more, and all of a sudden he's an all-star. Uh, and we've seen it become more and more valued. Part of the reason why Sean Murphy was so coveted, and why it took such a massive haul, why you see, you know, the Brewers generally do go ahead and just fix catchers' defense. Like that is the primary thing that they love to do and the thing that they value, kinda, and that becomes something of value. Uh, and why you see teams succeed when they add a player like this. Uh, Catcher defense is great. In 3 years you're gonna see it shift away, where then something else is gonna become the new craze.
Yeah,
Is what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
there's always the ebb and flow in sports.
yeah, especially in baseball. I mean, totally off topic. But I mean, if you're like ever in like a fantasy league, there's like a certain thing that becomes valued or anything like that, you know? Yeah, it's just like that. That's just baseball. Baseball's fun. Baseball is the best.
Baseball is wonderful. Um, Closing out our show, there was some news, some Gary Sanchez news. He was obviously on the market for a while,
Yeah.
but he has signed somewhere. Hayden, tell us all about this.
Yeah. So Gary Sanchez, former Minnesota Twin, just kind of known for his time with the Yankees. Wasn't a
Former New York Yankee, former Twin.
Twins, the more important part.
Yeah,
Just
definitely the
signed
more
a
important
minor
part.
league deal with the New York Mets. Uh, he's obviously not going to be on the roster in the next couple weeks, just because he has to get back into baseball shape, get caught up. Uh, but I mean, it's interesting. We've already seen like their big signing at the catcher position go down with injury, Omar Narvaez. Uh, and I think he was getting to a point where he just needed to go play, go rake in the minors, force a trade, you know, build your value of sorts. And I don't know if the Mets is the best landing spot, but it is one.
It's better than no landing spot.
I think the Angels should have inked him a big league deal or a
Why?
minor
Why
league
the
deal.
Angels?
Logan O'Hop or Logan
Oh,
O'Hoppe,
he is hurt, isn't he?
he's hurt. They are currently on like some 28-year-old rookie as their
Excuse
uh
me.
backup catcher, and their starting catcher is Matt Dice, who he's a backup. Max Stassi's also on the IL with his hip discomfort, so uh yeah, I don't know. I think that would have been really like a big good grab for them. Uh, but no, I mean it's the Mets. I think the more important Mets stuff is people are really freaking out about Scherzer.
Yeah, yeah. Did you see the X-rays?
No,
Dude, they're scary. You should look them up. Like, he looks detached.
he's got that dog in him.
He does have that dog in him. He's trying to
I'm
play
wait.
through it.
I'm genuinely was about to think. I was about to look up Max Scherzer X-rays, and then I see like a picture of a dog photoshopped into like ribs. I was really
Dude, he's got that dog in him. No, no, but he's trying to play through it. Did you find the picture?
I haven't seen a picture yet, but I'm seeing like he had the right scapula stuff. Yeah, people are like saying it's like the end of Scherzer. Uh, I mean it sucks. Scherzer's awesome. Uh, but he's not making a start tonight, and I believe he's gonna go on the IL.
Yeah, no, she's gonna go on the IL. Like, uh, no, it didn't look that good.
No.
Hopefully he comes back. Obviously.
Yeah, I think he's said he was gonna try to make his start against the Nets.
Yeah.
No, I'm remembering now. Yeah, no, he's skipping. He's taking the night off, and then he's gonna be ready for the Nets. This is his goal.
That's from last year. Never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. Uh, I don't
No,
know.
but he's been hurt a lot more recently, and that's gonna happen with age. Obviously,
It's since
he has that
2019.
very violent pitching motion too, which doesn't help.
Uh,
But he's good. He's very good. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer,
yeah.
and if he wants to keep going, he's gonna keep going.
No, I
Yeah,
mean
he's
I don't think this is the end of Scherzer at all.
yeah. I don't think so either. I mean, he's got that kind of drive that can push him through a major injury at this age.
One of the fun things I saw was I guess like Mets fans are like super mean to him right now. And
Yeah.
obviously that stuff doesn't influence somebody like Max Scherzer.
Uh,
Uh, but it was like, oh yeah, Max Scherzer is gonna opt out now because everyone's so mean. That'd be nice if the Nats signed him. The thought I had immediately was like,
it would be
a nice
nice.
little reunion. I mean, yeah, give him 43 million. give him 45.
They have the cap. Give him the rest of the year deal.
Give him
What are
no,
they gonna do with that
give him
money, right?
45 next year after he opts out. I mean, the Nats have the payroll space to pay him. Like, it's not like they'll. I mean, I think they got some money coming off the books, don't they?
Unless Corbin's coming off the books, they're not.
I mean, they don't really have. Yeah, I mean, they only have 107 currently committed. Trade away one of those guys, boom. Or not trade away one of those guys. Just sign him. You have space.
They have space.
Yeah, they'd be at like 150. That's like reasonable
Yeah,
from
that's
a team
average.
that's, if they're like, win 70 games this year, which I think right now of how they've been playing, that's doable.
They've been playing really good
They've
recently,
been
haven't
playing
they?
really good
They've been
recently.
playing really good recently.
Uh, bring him in, be like that, veteran ace. Obviously, I think at that point, he's on an innings limit
Mm-hmm.
just to keep him healthy for the whole year. I know he'd hate it, but like he kind of needs to.
I don't think he'd sign if he knew we'd put an innings limit on him.
I, I'm not saying like, oh, he can only throw like 100 innings. I'm saying like, okay, man, like you got a pitch count, like a hard like 85, 90 pitch count, and like we don't want you to go over 100 or something like that. In any given start, just to keep that arm healthy and just as less stress as possible on that.
We'll see. Obviously, we wish him the best
Yeah.
in his recovery. It'd be great to see him against the Nats. Obviously, I don't want to see him pitch against the Nats, but it'd be great to see him back out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Um.
I'll make sure I'm watching that game.
Anyway, did you have anything else, Hayden, that we missed in this week?
No, I mean I can double check. There was like a big death. I don't know if you know how much you know about Vita Blue, but Hall of Fame pitcher. Uh, like won 2 Cy Youngs and an MVP, and has a ring. Passed away. Uh, so that sucks. But I mean, outside of that, that was I think the only other news. It was kind of just everything I've seen is just everyone's just talking about stuff. Matt Harvey retired. That's right. But we don't like Matt Harvey.
Woo! Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in to episode 12 of Rounding Third. Once again, I'd like to thank Ryan for the logos. We
Yes.
really do
Thank you, Ryan.
appreciate them. And they will be plastered all over, everywhere, forever now. So
Yeah.
you have officially had a legacy. Congratulations.
Woo!
Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Rounding Third. I have been your co-host, Jeremy Lapidus, joined as always by,
Haden Raymer.
and we'll see you at